is to help you protect your people and your property, and we're doing that by answering commonly asked questions. And this one is really going to dive in today on how do you select a good service provider? What are the things that you need to be looking for?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot that we can go through today for this.
We'll try to sum it up into a couple of key points that you can look for when you're talking with any service provider. Obviously, you know, we are a lock and security service provider, but this is applicable, in my opinion, to an HVAC specialist, plumbers, electricians, you name it.
Yes.
If they're providing a service for you, these are some things that you need to be looking for and be aware of.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So number one, helpful and kind communication.
Yes.
When you talk about helpful and kind communication, what does that mean to you, Zach?
So helpful and kind communication, for me personally, it just means being in front, being there for the customer when they're looking for you. When they call you, responding to them, being helpful, not just passing the buck on and passing him to somebody else and just going back and forth through the motions just to kind of get them off your plate. A lot of times you just, look, I just want to get this person off my plate, I just want to move on to the next thing. Just being helpful, understanding what their problem is, and kind of just walking through that process instead of just trying to push someone off.
And we do that through having live people to answer the phone. You're not going to get a phone tree, and these are live local people.
Yeah, phone trees drive me crazy. I don't know why, but I cannot stand calling a provider like your phone provider and having to be on phone for 15, 20 minutes trying to get to the right person, what they're looking for. It drives me crazy.
And localized. I mean,
Yes.
the people that are answering the phone are either in our office or they're after hours. They're in the field. They're our on call folks. So having the ability to get in touch with somebody that knows what's going on rather than going to a call center that is not directly located with the business. All right. Helpful and kind communication. What are some other ways that you can have helpful and kind communication?
Just being responsive. So just being there and being responsive. Like I said, just making sure that the customer feels like they're, you know, a priority or you're a priority. So making sure they're first online, not pushing them off and saying, hey, you know, I'll get to you in a week, or no, we don't have time for you right now. Just being there and being helpful and being a person, you know, just there's not, it's kind of hard to say like, oh, there's a lot of different things you can do, but just being there, being in front of them, being honest with them, just letting them know that you're there to help them solve their problem because they're obviously calling you for a reason. They're not just calling you.
And I would say be adaptable in your communication style. So if you want a text message, if you want an online chat, if you want to send an email, if you prefer phone call, if you just want to fill out an online form because you don't want to do any of the other things, having the ability to do any of those, whatever is available. You may like to pick up the phone and call somebody. I may want to text somebody. Another person may feel more comfortable in emailing. And making it available where you can choose whatever is best for your situation rather than forcing it into the way that we want you to communicate with us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Helpful and kind communication, meaning that you understand who you're dealing with as well. I think a lot of times when you go to a website for a business, who are you dealing with? Is this just one person, or is this a team of people that can work with you?
Yeah, because if that one person's on vacation, you're only dealing with that one person. It's a one-man show, which one-man shows, they're great. It's not saying you shouldn't use a one-man show, but just knowing that and with the type of service that you're going after. So if you're going plumbing, you don't want some guy that's on vacation for 2 weeks and you can't get a hold of him because your toilet's overflowing. Like you don't want to use somebody like that if they're not fully available and have somebody answering the phone and trying to take care of their stuff for them.
Number two, response time. What does response time mean from a service provider standpoint and to a customer? Yeah.
So for us, we track every bit of that. So from the time the person calls all the way until the job's complete, we're going to track that. We're going to know the timeline of that and saying, you know, how responsive are we? You know, we say we typically be on site within 24 to 48 hours. In emergency situations, we try to be there within the hour. So just knowing those to come through to do that.
So tracking, we do a lot of tracking internally from the time that the request is made. If it's a site visit, how long it takes us to get on site, how long it takes us to order parts, how long it takes us to return and complete. If somebody's looking for pricing.
Yeah, how long it takes to get a quote, how long the time they call to the time we send it out. It depends because, you know, the transparency of all the different components of it. How long do you have to take to get out there? You know, what parts do you need? All those things take into factor of that.
So response time is big, but at the end of the day, if a customer has an issue, how are we serving them in that particular situation? If it is an emergency that needs to be handled right now, are we putting the effort to fix that? Or if it's a long-term project, are we checking in at the appropriate times to make sure that we're moving it along accurately?
Yeah.
So helpful and kind communication. Response time is the second thing. And then the third thing is solving the customer's problems. At the end of the day, what are the steps to actually getting this issue, whatever that issue is, solved?
Yeah, and get that resolved, and let the customer know what's going on through the project. A lot of people want to know what's going on. If somebody's at my house, I want to know what they're doing at that time. Obviously I'm not standing over their shoulder saying, "Hey, what are you doing?" every 5 seconds, but you want to know what's going on. So being honest with them, communicating with them, this is what's going on. Hey, I ran into this issue. This is what we're going to do to fix it. Just making the customer aware of kind of what's happening at that time, and just being honest and helping them and doing it right, getting it done right, and getting it done in a timely manner so that they're not having to, oh, yeah, your lock's broke, but sorry, there's nothing we can do here.
Well, and I think too, on the solving a customer's problem, at the end of the day, a lot of that comes to actually sticking with it until it's done. In general, not everything is perfectly cookie cutter. There's times that things don't work as expected, and at the end of the day, is that service provider, do they have a record of sticking with it until it's solved, or when things get tough, they disappear and start to ghost you?
Which we see that a lot in our industry, where you get into a sticky situation and you say, well, where's the other person, because they didn't do their portion of it, or vice versa, and then you have to go in and say, look, we'll own it, every bit of it. We'll take care of it, and we'll make sure this project's done from start to finish. We're not going to leave. We're not going to leave you hanging dry. We're going to get this project done and get it done right, and make sure that you're happy at the end of the day.
Helpful and kind communication, number one, making sure that you find a service provider that is going to be, one, responsive and answer the phone, answer the calls, the text, whatever, and that they're going to have some transparency. Yeah. I think it's overstated. To be unclear is to be unkind, right? Yes. So transparency. This is where we're at. This is what's happening, and I'm not going to tell you something that is not true. Secondly is response time. How quickly are they responding to you? Maybe the response time is not important if you don't need to be there today. Maybe it's in a couple of weeks, but are they prompt? Do they show up when they say they're going to show up? Follow up with what they say they're going to follow up. So response time is important. And then the third and final thing is, can they actually solve the problem, and do they have the persistence to solve it all the way till the end? Even if it goes off the rails, even if things aren't perfect, are they going to stick with it all the way to the very end?
Yes.
So those are some things to consider as you're looking for a service provider. Other things to check out are their online reputation. Do they have online reviews? What do those online reviews say? And then their website. Do a deep dive into their website. Do you know where they're located? Can you actually see their office? Can you see the people that are working with them, rather than is it just a company that you can't really figure out who it is behind the scenes? Having transparency of who you're working with is a vital component and something important as you're selecting a service provider. So those are some things to consider. If you want to find out more, you can click on the link below. If you'd like to contact us and interview us as a service provider, you can do that as well. You may end up talking with Zach or one of his associates, and be able to ask all the questions that you want to make sure that these characteristics are met when you're trying to find your service provider. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.